Welcome to my review of the 2006 LEGO Star Wars V-Wing Fighter, set number 6205 with 118 pieces. This set would actually be the last of its kind in a way. With a $10 retail price, there hasn't been a regular $10 or less LEGO Star Wars set since this one came out nearly 20 years ago. We've seen things like Battle Packs, Planet Series sets, Micro Fighters, Brickheads, and Polybags, all at $10 or less, but this was the last set that stood on its own, not a part of any subline for $10 or less, and I think that's quite an interesting fact about this one. Now, adjusting for inflation, it'd be about $16 retail in today's money. However, on the secondary market to get this sealed in box, you'll have to pay somewhere near $100. Not cheap for something without an exclusive minifig. Now, looking at my sealed box, you've got the V-Wing zooming over Coruscant, which is sick, and then you've got the 2006 key art, which is nice in its own right, and I'm very nostalgic for, but I feel like if this set had come out a year prior in 2005 and had that Revenge of the Sith box art, it would have been that extra level of legendary. This one is just seen as a normal set, I think, to most people, versus I feel like if it came out in 2005, it would have like a legendary status and aura around it, and it just doesn't have that as a 2006 set. It's kind of funny how things like that can work. This is effectively a 2005 Revenge of the Sith set, but it just doesn't have that same box art, and so it doesn't feel the same as the others do. Isn't it weird? Anyway, the back of the box has a couple of cool alternate builds, as well as highlighting a couple of features on the V-Wing. It's unboxing time. Inside of the box, absolutely nothing special here, just a couple of unnumbered bags and your instruction manual. The lone minifigure included is appropriately a clone pilot. It's the same exact minifig that we saw introduced in the 2005 ARC 170. Lots of great detail. Obviously, it's stylized very heavily to a classic LEGO design, so it definitely has some weird aspects, like the see-through helmet visor, and with the black head underneath, it properly does represent the black of the visor, but it's just a weird way to design it, but that's what they were doing back in the day. Technically, there's part of another minifig in the set, I guess, as you do get the dome for the astromech droid here in dark red. I think it looks super cool. It fits right into the design of the V-Wing too, because it's dark red. It really just melts right in there with all the other dark red. It's definitely a dated looking print though, because back then they didn't print lower on the domes of the astromech droid. It is definitely awkward, and yeah, it kind of sucks that they didn't include the rest of them here because it feels incomplete if you wanted to take it off, but as something that's stuck onto the V-Wing, it definitely looks nice. Looking at the build from the top down here, it's pretty clean, and I gotta say I like the mix of red and gray. I feel like it's done fairly accurately for the time, but the build is definitely starting to show its age here about 20 years later. The windscreen piece, very old looking. Definitely don't love that, and you'll see how it's removed in a minute. It makes it feel really old. And then the build, as you build it, is just bricks and plates with very little Technic. Like, there's Technic holding this on, which is nice because it lets you hold it like that, but overall, it's just a plate and brick build that feels super simple, and it was fun to build. I enjoyed that aspect of it, actually. The classic feel was nice, but it is a classic feel. It definitely feels like it's 20 years old. It's also worth mentioning they released another Revenge of the Sith V-Wing in 2014 that blows this one out of the water, so if you're looking at this and you love it, it's for the nostalgia. Getting back to the windscreen though, removing it to place a minifig inside can be quite difficult. You see the wings on top are kind of obstructing it, and there's no like hinge or sliding mechanism. This thing is just a brick placed on some other bricks, and you can see with these down, it gets blocked. It is hard to move, and you could break the whole set apart. Yeah, pretty rough. Pull these up a little bit, and technically I think on the back of the box and in the instructions, this is how they show it, but as a kid and even as an adult, the way that I want to display it in the landed position is actually closing this all up all the way because I think it looks better. But anyway, let's lift those up just a little bit there. And now we can actually go ahead and remove this windscreen piece. Much easier without anything in the way. Although maybe it was just a tight connection the first time. I don't know. I don't remember it breaking like that as a kid. Anyway, the interior, you've got no control panel printed or stickered. It's just the grill piece there to represent it, which is nice. They at least put something there, but I'm kind of surprised they didn't put one of their like standard printed 1x2 tiles there. Definitely could have used something. It's also an all studded design on the bottom, which can be quite problematic when it comes to removing the minifig. Sometimes they just get stuck down there and the helmet comes off, and then the head comes off, and in worst case scenario, the torso comes off, and then you got to try to pry the legs out some way, somehow. It's not particularly fun sometimes. And modern sets still use a tile, so there's not so much clutch power, but yeah, there's a lot of clutch power for the legs on this one. Regardless of how difficult he may be to remove later, it is a snug fit, but you do have to leave a little space behind him. You can see I don't have him completely snug to the back wall there because the canopy has a little bit of plastic at the back, so it's actually got to go around him. See? So you got to have space for that. And and then it clips back into place. He looks nice in there. It fits well. It's just removing him that sucks. Behind the astromech droid head I pointed out earlier, we have a Republic logo that is printed, which is amazing. You would get that as a sticker in a modern day set. Like, no matter what the price is, it'd be a sticker. So it's pretty cool that they actually printed it in this particular set back in the day. You've got your engine detail on the back, which is in this very nice neon green that really pops on the back of the V-Wing. It's one of those things on this set that I remember super fondly. I just loved as a kid that they chose that particular color here. I don't even know if it's accurate. I don't want to look to ruin it for myself at this point, but it was a really cool color as a kid. It just was something different than a lot of the other Star Wars vehicles had. There's a couple other things on this V-Wing worth mentioning, like the cannons on either side, but they don't have any actual physical function. I guess you can swing them out, but you know, it's one of those imaginative play things. Like, kids might have done that, but like I always would OCD about it and try to get them to be straight, you know, up and down there. So it works. I love how fast it looks at the back here. It's just this like clean design. It looks like it's a faster ship because of that. You've also got some very simplistic landing gear on the bottom. It of course isn't retractable, but I guess if you wanted to remove it for it to be flying through the air, you could. You just pull a couple pieces off and put them back on when you go to land, but you definitely don't want to not have landing gear on this thing. It looks horrible landed without landing gear, just leaning forward. Just so ugly. Now, the other big feature, of course, is the wings folding out. So you can lift them up. I mean, you can fold them all the way out if you want, but lift them up to like here for maybe like a equal angle with this is what I usually go for. Or you can go for the full-on TIE fighter silhouette and go like close to straight up and down like we see at the end of Revenge of the Sith with the Imperial TIE fighters flying at you, kind of more like that. So it just kind of depends on what you're going for, but it does look really cool either way in the flying position. I always loved the way these look when they're flying. Now, this one doesn't have like the cool accurate landing mechanism like we would see with the future V-Wings, but you do see it landed in Revenge of the Sith very briefly in the background, and yeah, this is not necessarily accurate to that, but that's all right. I guess you could remove this and let's try it. Remove this, twist it up. Remove this and twist it up. I think that would be more accurate to the way it's technically supposed to be landed, but it also looks stupid. We're getting a little off track here. I just thought about it though. Yeah, you kind of briefly see these in Revenge of the Sith, by the way. And maybe that's part of the reason we didn't get it in that 2005 release wave. Another interesting fact about this set is a little reward, if you will, for watching my whole review. You guys know the 7283 Ultimate Space Battle, very legendary 2005 Star Wars set. Well, you might not know the K7283 V-Wing Space Battle collection that is listed on Bricklink. It is literally the Ultimate Space Battle, except the Obi-Wan Starfighter and one of the Vulture droids is replaced by the V-Wing. I believe this was done during Christmas 2005, so just as the V-Wing was coming out for 2006, because the set sold out, but LEGO still wanted to sell, I guess, some version of the set. It doesn't exist as a boxed set, as far as I'm aware. It was really a collection of the 3 separate sets with the Anakin Starfighter and Vulture droid, the Droid Tri-Fighter, and the V-Wing. But I've always wished I could get a physical box of that set, but yeah, I literally don't think it exists. So just a cool oddity about LEGO Star Wars there, though, with this particular set. Anyway, that is the 2006 LEGO Star Wars V-Wing. It's the type of set that missed its calling by a year, I would say. If it came out in 2005, it would be looked back on as a legendary set. And I still think people look back on it fondly, but, you know, if it had that 2005 box art, I think it'd just be part of a different conversation. I don't think it's really worth picking up these days, of course, unless you have nostalgia for this particular set or just are a completionist collector. There's just no reason to pick it over the better modern V-Wings or perhaps a future V-Wing that LEGO may come out with. So let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section below. If you enjoyed, hit that like button. You can check out more LEGO Star Wars 2006 set reviews on the end screen now.